in embracing technology. And that's why we're joined here today with those who have talked about the embracing of technology for far too long. Our city cannot continue to be a 21st century city if our governance continue to be an antiquated government model. You can't have an iPod century with a antiquated 8-track method of using technology in the city, and that is why we're sending a clear and loud message. We believe that the legislation that is being introduced today by Justin Brennan, and I want to thank Justin for immediately responding to this, and some of the legislation that's been introduced by Robbie Cornegy, we believe that it will require the Department of Building to conduct an initial drone inspection within 48 hours of a 311 complaint or DOB violation, Department of Building violation. It would also authorize the New York City Housing Authority to use drones for initial inspections of their buildings and rooftop. These new drones are amazing at what they can do, and we need to allow the power of carrying out what they're capable of doing in a very real way. When you do an analysis of what is happening in the city around buildings inspections and around scaffold sheds in front of buildings citywide, we have over 9,217 active sidewalk sheds, over 1.7 million linear feet. These sheds have been up an average of 306 days. Some of them are even longer. You have some NYCHA developments where people don't know their community without the sheds. Children have been born and became young adults with the sheds up in their buildings, and it's very costly. One report that we commissioned and the Borough Hall's office showed that we're spending $30 million a year on these sheds on NYCHA grounds. And why are they still there? No one can give us a clear answer on why they're there, and we say that we can change the mindset. We're going to have a representative from the company give an overview of how powerful these drones are and how to use them and how we can use the thermal lining to really identify if there's a problem in a building and a rooftop. And so that's why this is crucial to use this technology. This technology in the hands of the right people. It is not a toy, but it's a tool. And these tools will save millions of dollars, save time, but most importantly, it could actually save lives. And we believe using drones to inspect buildings is something that we must embrace for the future. The death of Erica Tishman tells us that we must move our technology and embrace technology to find a safer way to inspect buildings. Using drones would take us to a new height in carrying out that inspection. And so I want to again thank my council colleagues for introducing this legislation, and I would like to bring up now Councilmember Justin Brennan. Councilmember.
Thank you, Borough President. We have two fundamental obligations as elected officials. Number one is to make sure that New Yorkers are safe, and number two is to make sure that their tax dollars are being spent wisely and efficiently. I worry that we've failed on both accounts here. What happened to Erica Tishman appears to have been a completely avoidable tragedy. Inspectors issued a violation to the building back in April. Erica was killed in December. When hardworking New Yorkers take the time to call 311 with a complaint, the city needs to listen and the city needs to act. 311 is a great tool, but only if it's followed up with action. As the Borough President said, we need to be more than just a reactive city. We need to be a proactive city. And a day after Erica was tragically killed, it was reported that the Buildings Department was scrambling to inspect 1,300 facade complaints. This is just not realistic. And if this is about lack of manpower or lack of resources, then we need to get creative, which is why we're here today. The city needs to embrace drone technology for these situations. Right now, the only people who are flying drones are people who shouldn't be flying drones. Using drones for building inspections would not only increase safety, but it would greatly increase efficiency and save taxpayers a whole lot of money. If there's a tool we can use today that would keep our city safer and more efficient, then why aren't we using it? I look forward to working with my colleagues in government to create a real framework to use drones legally, efficiently, and safely in the city of New York, and to make sure that Erica's death was not in vain. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Councilman. And also, we want to bring on Councilmember Robbie Cornegy, who was always also looking at this for quite some time. Councilman?
Thank you, Borough President. So first of all, I want to say from the City Council's perspective, safety is now and has always been a priority for the citizens of this great city. So as the Chair of Housing and Buildings, we've had a suite of bills looking to address this for quite some time, and we're looking to get that passed immediately. So while we have behaved in some instances very reactionary, we have been fighting with DOB, the Department of Buildings, to make sure that there are more safety measures. And in speaking to them very recently, one of their ideas is that we're going to add more inspectors. That's only one part of this and one component to what's necessary. So yes, more inspectors, but this drone, the use of drones in the ability of inspecting buildings is incredibly important. So I want to begin by extending my condolences to the Erica Tishman family, friends, and loved ones. We can only imagine the anguish you're experiencing and offer you that you're in all of our prayers. In addition to thoroughly investigating the events leading up to Erica Tishman's death, we need to be sure to open up the more up-to-date tools to ensure the facade inspection and safety program meets our city's needs. We need to be able to deploy every tool at our disposal to keep our New Yorkers safe. The facade inspection safety program stems from Local Law 1998 and the local law governing unmanned aerial vehicles or drones. That law is from 1948. No one could have imagined the technology would be available to us 71 years ago or 21 years ago. That's why the legal changes we press for today are so important. We need to be sure our city's building managers, experts, and inspectors have the latitude to make use of tools already used in and outside the city. Whether using thermal imaging to detect water infiltration or giving inspectors a first look at potential problem spots, the time for incorporating these new technologies in our city's building safety policy is now. As we continue to examine the precise failings that led to Erica Tishman's death, this legislation will serve as part of crafting the measures that will bolster safety for New Yorkers. Let that be part of how we as public honor Erica Tishman's death. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. I want to bring on from DJI Drones, Patrick Santucci. Patrick?
Thank you. My name is Patrick Santucci, and I work for DJI, which is the largest civilian drone manufacturer in the world. I want to thank you for coming today to come see how drones are being used in cities across the world to increase safety. What we have here today is the DJI Matrice 210, and this is a state-of-the-art drone from DJI. What you can see, it's got a dual gimbal and camera system. One of those is a thermal camera, so it can detect temperature changes, such as like an issue with the facade. The second is a high-grade zooming camera, which can then zoom in on that point to inspect further. So if we launch this up, we can actually fly around the building and take photos and videos with both or either of the cameras, and then you can refer to that at a later point. A drone can't repair a building, but it can help spot issues early on, quicker, faster, and most importantly, safer compared to traditional methods. We're happy to see forward-thinking elected officials like President Adams and Councilmember Brannon who want to encourage the city to use drones in meaningful ways like this. Drones are bringing enormous benefits to cities, people, businesses across the world, and we're hoping New York City can catch up and affirm that using drones in the city is welcomed and legal to use across all the boroughs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll bring you back. I'm sure they're going to have questions on that. And really, one of the leading voices around the embracing of technology, I would like for him to come up and speak, Andrew Rouchet of Civic Hall and New York Tech Alliance. Andrew?
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, everybody. My name is Andrew Rouchet, and I'm from Civic Hall in the New York Tech Alliance. And at a time when we worry that technology is being used for bad things, it's really great to see technology being used for the public good. And New York is a perfect use case for that purpose. In our time, technology is moving so fast that it really takes leadership on the part of public officials like Eric Adams and our councilmen to understand that technology should not be waiting for us, but we should be taking advantage of it and using it to create public safety, to create innovation, to create jobs, and to create a better society for all of us. That's not just technology like drones, but also social media, the internet, and other technologies. In New York, with its strong leadership in nonprofit work, strong leadership in public service, has an opportunity to lead the country and the world in the use of technology for the public good. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final two speakers from Tech NYC, Zachary Heck, and following him will be Wilfredo Lopez.
Hi, my name is Zachary Hecht, and I'm the Policy Director at Tech NYC, a nonprofit coalition of 800 companies here in New York, working to make sure that New York is the best place to start a tech company, to grow a tech company, and that tech benefits New Yorkers. Now, today, New York City stands as a global hub for innovation, and our tech ecosystem is a model for cities around the world. A lot of that has been due to our strong partners in government and forward-looking policymakers. However, as you've heard, due to an outdated law, drone usage remains complex in New York City, and our city has been behind there. Drones provide a range of benefits to an array of stakeholders, and New York City would undoubtedly benefit from a new framework. And as new technologies are developed, our city must update its laws and foster responsible, innovative usage. This is of the utmost importance if our city is to remain a global tech hub now and in the future. And that's why Tech NYC applauds Borough President Adams, Councilmember Brannan, Councilmember Cornegie for recognizing the potential benefits of drones and looking to bring those benefits to New Yorkers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Wilfredo Lopez, and I'm here on behalf of Councilmember Ben Kalos, who firmly believes that New York City should use drones to inspect building facades. We've been fighting to get legislation drafted allowing the use of drones for building facade inspections since first learning of the advances many years ago. We've been met with resistance, citing concerns with safety, privacy, and doubts on the capabilities of this technology. But what are they actually saying no to? They're saying no to saving millions in inspection costs. They're saying no to detailed and useful data in building inspections. And they're saying no to safer conditions for pedestrians and workers. Erica Tishman's death was tragically not the first. It reminded many people of Grace Gold's death many years ago. How many more people must be injured or die before we start to realize that our city is crumbling? And we must use whatever tools are available to us to identify dangerous conditions and fix them quickly and safely as possible. What happened to Erica Tishman could have happened to anyone. The only way to prevent this from happening again is with more frequent inspections. Drones will allow us to do this safely and cost effectively. We look forward to working with Borough President Adams and Councilmember Justin Brannan and Robert Cornegie to bring drone inspections to New York City. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe that you see the combination of technology and government coming together to find ways of ensuring that we can operate a 21st century city with 21st century technology. Using drones not only save time, save money, but it can actually save the life of a person. We must embrace this forward-thinking technology and not be afraid of it. And that is why we're here today. This is something that could be implemented immediately. 1948 rule should not stop 2021 successful use of technology. And that's why we're here today. We're going to do a brief presentation, and then we'll open it. I'm sure you have a question for the drone company. Now, we actually cannot allow it to fly. You can only take off in state parks because of this old rule, but we're able to show you how to use some of the use of this drone in this way.
everybody. My name is Edward. I'm with DJI. I'm a pro specialist. What we have here, as we were mentioning before, is the DJI, the M200. It's the 210 RTK version. Here we have the Ascendance with the crystal sky monitor. And as you can see here, what we can actually show as we're pointing back towards all you here is thermal. So you can see that just behind you, everything is blue. That's showing us that our color palette at this moment is actually a rainbow. It's showing us everything behind us is blue, and everything in the foreground where you guys are is white hot and red. So it's showing the difference in temperature variation as well. If you guys want to like where your hands are on, you see that everything is actually being transmitted live back to the drone in real time. So that's one of the things. So we can actually change the color palette from this drone, from this actual camera system. In certain situations, different color palettes might be great. White hot, moderate. Depending on the situation, there is variation in what we'll be able to do. It also has a regular RGB camera, but we can also switch to 30x zoom camera with our picture-in-picture. So the camera on the right, as you're seeing on the right, is our actual thermal camera. The one on your left is our zoom camera. And we'll be able to zoom in onto certain spots that we see on the building that there may be some. Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, I'm sorry. Sure.
No,
Okay.
It's not
It's okay. You leave it at that. Yeah, thank you. So we were just talking about the thermal camera. The thermal camera will enable us to see if there's any water spots or if there's any heat escaping or if there's any if the building is letting out any of its air conditioning. We'll be able to see what parts of that the building is actually doing that. And then with our thermal camera, we'll be able to zoom in and then really start to get the nitty-gritty of what it is that we need to be looking at. Is there a crack there? Is there a part of the window that's starting to come down? Is there a break in the molding? Is there some stone that's starting to come off? So being able to do some preliminary inspection on a lot of these buildings. As you can see, as you look around, there's scaffolding in many of these corners right now. As you look around, there's one to our right, one behind us, and another one over your shoulder. This will allow for a lot of the scaffolding to come down, as they were mentioning before. That's been up for a very long time. Even in the neighborhood I live in Brooklyn, that stuff's up all over the place. So we have the thermal on your right-hand side, and then the zoom on the left-hand side. This will enable us to just be able to determine where we really need to be putting our tax dollars to work. What I'll do now is I'll give you guys a quick show on what the zoom is actually capable of. Actually, sure. So if you guys, I'm just going to point it away towards the building here. Thank you. Yep.
Why don't we do this? Can we tilt up there to show the
Sure, 1 second.
the statue? Yeah. Can you? Yeah. We'll show the statue, okay?
Sure, 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Hopefully we're energy efficient.
Yeah, right. Hold on. I got a problem with that. It keeps disconnecting. I think there's a problem with the. Paul, turn off and turn it back on again. It just disconnected. Come on. No. That's okay. Just give me a second. Here. 1 second. Turn it back. Oh, come on. It's not letting me take the freaking control here. 1 second. Recenter. It keeps disconnecting. One second, Pablo. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, can we get Tucci up to the microphone?
Yeah. Tucci.
Tucci, two-part question. First of all, how much does this drone weigh?
For the weight aspect, it's
About 12, 13 pounds.
12, 13 pounds, yeah, but it depends also what type of cameras you're putting on them.
Let's say 12, 15 pounds. Tell us about the safety of having a 12-pound device up multiple stories above a crowded sidewalk. These things aren't perfect. Presumably this could fail. Talk about that.
Well, our drones are known for their reliability. They go through thorough testing. A lot of them feature multiple GPS systems to make sure that they don't go down. We also have things like collision avoidance, as well as like it'll lower itself if it's running out of battery. So it's packed with all sorts of safety features to ensure that it doesn't go down like that, particularly the commercial products as well.
Hold on, but also when you do the inspections, the same way you'll do any type of inspection, you'll cordon off the area, don't allow people to walk under while the inspections are taking place. You notify the residents in the building that a drone will be up. It's the same way you do any type of inspection when you're operating above ground. So you're going to make sure through that short period of time that you're not going to allow people to walk in the area where the drone is actually taking place.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe San Francisco, some of the southern states, we work a lot with like power supply companies too, as well for various projects like this. Yeah. Cost? For commercial products like this, we don't disclose publicly. It's more of like, but I'm happy to chat on the side.
Sir, I'm wondering if there's any special marking on it so that somebody could look at it like a cop and see that it's painted a certain color, so that you know it belongs to the Department of Buildings and it's not some rogue.
Yeah. So a lot of the police departments across the U.S. and actually across the globe put their special markings on it so that they know it's a property of like the police department or fire department.
So you could tell it apart from somebody who's just putting an errant drone out.
That would also depend on what type of markings they put on it, but yeah, potentially, yeah.
And what we would do is, and that's why it's important to use the technology correctly, you could notify the police department and let them know that here's where drones are going to be to do building inspections. You can actually have this fed right into a system right at the police department on their desk where they can see where we have drones in the area. So if there's a drone outside the area, then you'll know there's a problem.
Can I ask you one follow-up question about why Department of Buildings is not here, and what do they think about this? Because normally you'd expect that a representative might be here saying we put our stamp of approval on this as well.
You would be amazed at the slow response of upper management in the city on technology. And I'm pretty sure many of the people who are here are trying to move the city forward in technology. And it's unfortunate that many people are stuck and unwilling to move in a way that we can run the city more efficiently. And that's why we're talking about this. And that's a good question to present to them. Why aren't we using this technology? Instead of putting 1,500 inspectors to try to inspect millions of buildings, why not use technology that we can do this instantly?
Did you invite them and they declined?
No, we did not. No, I think we have a large number of young, innovative, tech-savvy city council people that understand that it's time to embrace technology. I think we can get it passed. I'm going to reach out to the mayor tomorrow and see if he will support this bill as well. I believe he will support it as well. It's just really getting our agencies to start understanding we can't use these antiquated methods to run a city in the 21st century.
The fact that there was 8 months between when this violation was flagged and when this accident happened, is it just there was a lack of inspectors to follow up, or is it just standard operating procedure to not follow up and just assume it'll get fixed at some point?
I believe it's unfortunate that we have a city where many of our agencies are just unwilling to see how do we become more efficient as a city. And we have to push the envelope.
In the case of the death last week, this drone wouldn't have made a difference. I mean, they already knew about a problem. It was not a lack of information.
I'm sorry.
No, we've scheduled, at the Shared Housing and Buildings, we scheduled a hearing for early February, not only to address the serious, specific downfalls that led to her death, but that period and the inefficiency during that period. So the city council hearings and oversight hearings are scheduled just to do exactly that. We will be drilling down as deeply as you possibly could imagine to, one, find out how that happened, two, find out where these inefficiencies are within DOB that are letting 8 months pass before some action is taken. So you can look forward to the beginning of February, a housing and buildings hearing on DOB about facade safety.
Hold on. We're gonna get right to you. But let's go back to your scenario. There was a report of a dangerous condition. Put a drone in the air. That drone could specifically drill down exactly where that dangerous condition is with immediate response. You could have people stop walking in that area, so you have a more rapid turnaround. We could have, I believe, prevented that death if that drone was in the air and able to identify in that building exactly where you saw the corrosion and the potentiality of something falling from that building. I'm sorry. The current rule states that you are not allowed to take off a drone anywhere in the city other than a state park. That is the only way you can take off a drone. And if we remove that, we will allow professionals to take off a drone not only in a state park. And that's part of the problems we're having now, that you can't do that. And with the scaffolding, it will really identify which areas you really need the scaffolding up. We have scaffolding in NYCHA, for example, where you don't need the scaffolding up, but you don't have the time to do the inspection. It is taking too long, and people keep talking about manpower. This alleviates the manpower problem that we're having.
So, Eric, in terms of the bill that you would like to see, for the law that you would like to see passed, people would make a 311 complaint.
Mm-hmm.
And
you want to
would be used within an inspection within a certain period of time? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so, go ahead, yeah.
So absolutely, you answered your own question. That's absolutely what we expect to do, to reduce the amount of time.
If you can explain it for us, so, like what would you, how would you, because first of all, can the city council actually pass a law, or does it have to go through the FAA or the state or anybody like that? And what would you like to see ideally implemented?
Yeah, so this 1948 law is ours. So we can, make the amendments to the law. Understand that the law, there were not drones when the law was devised. It said aerial items, right? So there's no way that we knew at that time that there would be drones. So certainly with the onset of new technology, we need to be able to, first of all, we need to be able to have our laws match the time that we're living in, first and foremost. So what we would like to see is, for that law, and Justin can join me in this because part of it is his bill as well. If you'd just like to speak about how your bill is being
48 hour.
Yeah, so the idea would be is that usually what we're being told is that there's a manpower and a resource issue. If a complaint is made to 311 and we're now allowed to use drones to do these inspections, whether it's 48 hours or whether it's a week, it's going to get done a lot quicker than having to wait for a team to go out there to inspect, put up scaffolding, and the whole deal. So that's what we're trying to get at. We're working with PD now, NYPD, to work on an overall framework to push this forward. Once that is done, then I think you're going to see the floodgates open, where we're really going to be pushing all agencies that could really use drones in the city to get that done. But it's a matter of having that overall legal framework to get it done, so we can now take a step into the 21st century and hopefully help some people.
Hold on. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Lisa. Two things. Someone calls, and they make a complaint. Within 48 hours, you can have, particularly if it's a complaint of an immediate threat. Within 48 hours, you could have a drone, one of these companies that is licensed and authorized by the city. You can go up and do an inspection to detect the extent of the danger.